Full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What is an addiction many people don't realize they have? I feel people who gamble never really seem to realize how bad their addiction is. Whenever you try to talk sense into them, they seem completely greed-fueled, like they're willing to risk everything for that chance to be rich. It's scary as hell. I've lived in Vegas for 22 years. I used to work for casinos. They make these huge mega resorts all on a 2% chance to win on slots. That's all they need. The odds are ever stacked against you. If you throw money in a slot machine or at some table games while waiting for a restaurant to open or something here, that's one thing, but expecting to win.
Yeah, no. You are the reason they can keep building these resorts.
My father-in-law calls a slot machine his atom machine. In his fairness, I've seen the machine pay him out a few times, but he sincerely believes it. It's just crazy, especially because he comes home broke nearly every time. Like, shit, I guess your at machine is broke. It's really hard not to respond to. Had a win last night with, but how much have you lost? Doom scrolling. Didn't have to doom scroll far for that one. Sixth time around for me. Was very addicted and I knew it, but couldn't stop. My addiction took me further and further into deep truth-seeking by going to more and more fact-checking sites, and all sides come. Then I felt the need to tell everyone that most of their belief systems are flawed based on the biases we all have and the nuances of human neurology, i.e., how the brain really works. But that just made me another version of all the people I wanted to speak out to, that I have the real answers, damn it, and everyone needs to gather round and listen to the truth that only I can espouse. I have finally detached from it quite well, and can honestly say my life is much the better for it. It is. I have been asked how I detached. It's hard to say, but here are some guesses. The combination of vitriolic politics and the pandemic made it much worse for all of us, no matter where your political ideologies fall. So, as that falls further back in time, it gets a little easier. Cable news is the worst of the worst. I did not watch it, but it was flowing into my Facebook watch. Gaming via watch couldn't be easier. It shamelessly will keep showing you whatever you spend time on. So I zip past the politics and argument BS. Now, and let it sit on comedians and music. Recognize there is nothing you can do about any of it whatsoever other than go vote about once a year or less. And if you're motivated, maybe write a letter to a politician, although I doubt that does anything. So why put energy into it? Or maybe you feel spending time at demonstrations is helpful. I would say if you have that kind of energy and dedication, then yes, that is one thing you can do. I do not. Once you find yourself in a more calm, joyful state of mind, and you are about to click on the bait, you start to say, wait a minute, is that going to instantaneously make me feel bad? And does it connect to anything I can do, anything I can do, anything I can do anything about? It's the same arguments over and over. Fuck it. I don't need it. I've got to keep scrolling till I hit the end of Reddit though. Surely, I must be getting close. They say if you get to the end of Reddit, you will regain your virginity. I can quit any time I want to keep scrolling. I had a very early experience with this that put me off the concept for life. There was a carnival game where you tried to hit targets with a pop gun for money. $5 for the bigger ones, $10 for the bigger ones, $10 for the smaller one. It only cost $1 to play. At first it was exciting. Obviously I could knock one of those targets over, and even $5 was a lot of money to me at the time. But by the time I'd spent $10 of my dad's money and hadn't managed to knock over one thing, I was angry that it was harder than it seemed like it should have been, mortified to have lost $10 whole with nothing to show for it, and desperate to at least reduce my losses. And when my dad wouldn't give me another dollar so I could win back $10 and only be $1 down, I had a tantrum and told him I hated him and ran away from home, around the block. I think I was 7 or 8. To this day I feel guilty and ashamed of my behavior that day. And at the time, I was so confused about why I was so angry and why I just behaved that way. But I sure haven't been interested in gambling ever since. I didn't like how that felt. I think people know they have it, but don't realize how much it affects them. It's literally ruining my marriage, and my husband doesn't understand. Edited to add more context because several people have asked. The doom, scrolling and phone addiction in general are undoubtedly related to my husband's untreated depression and anxiety, which are related to his chronic unemployment and ever mounting student loan debt. He's glued to his phone and has made it clear I'm not allowed to ask what he's doing or ask him to stop. I'm sure he's doom scrolling to avoid the other issues and the general realities of his life, which include being the primary caregiver for 2 boys under 2, but even then, mostly just on his phone, while the baby sleeps and the toddler plays alone. But I feel pretty confident in saying that if he would put his phone down, he might be able to address some of the other issues. The doom scrolling has been a constant for 12 years. If anyone has questions, please DM. I feel like this Askreddit thread isn't the right place to explain the intricacies of my crumbling marriage. Addicted to validation. Whether it comes from video games, getting likes on a post comment, from work, etc., people stay chasing validation in most any form. Edit. The awards are very validating, thanks kind Redditor. People have always wanted to be liked, but before we were only seeking acceptance from those in our village. Maybe a couple hundred people at maximum, but never billions of people who live on different continents and don't even know we exist. I would argue that kings and queens still seek validation from a whole country, and even sometimes from other countries. It's literally ruining my marriage, and my husband doesn't understand. Edited to add more context because several people have asked. The doom scrolling and phone addiction in general are undoubtedly related to my husband's untreated depression and anxiety, which are related to his chronic unemployment and ever mounting student loan debt. He's glued to his phone and has made it clear I'm not allowed to ask what he's doing or ask him to stop. I'm sure he's doom scrolling to avoid the other issues and the general realities of his life, which include being the primary caregiver for 2 boys under 2, but even then, mostly just on his phone, while the baby sleeps and the toddler plays alone. But I feel pretty confident in saying that if he would put his phone down, he might be able to address some of the other issues. The doom scrolling has been a constant for 12 years. If anyone has questions, please DM. I feel like this Askreddit thread isn't the right place to explain the intricacies of my crumbling marriage. Anger and attention. Too many people have no self-control because being petty feels good, but realistically, it is a toxic way of dealing with anger. Sugar and caffeine. Yup, if you're relying on caffeine to start your morning and get through your day, every day, then your body becomes dependent on it, which makes it harder to start a day without it. And sugar, puff, man, I think that's the worst. It's so addictive. I know that this is anecdotal evidence, but I feel like I'm one of few people I know that drinks coffee just cause I like doing it. There are mornings, hell, sometimes multiple days in a row, that I don't drink it and I'm fine. I'm the same way. I just love the taste. I found out I had AD this way because I never receive an energy boost from coffee, just extra concentration. In fact, I've been known to fall back asleep on the couch with a coffee cup in my hand. I still think I'm addicted to it though. Oh, I'm totally aware I have a caffeine addiction. I get headaches like clockwork by about 10 if I haven't had a coffee that day. I genuinely don't feel like my day has started till one is in my hand. I like the days where I can justify using pre-workout before going to the gym. I once went on medication for a month that discourages heavily caffeine. I was miserable the first 2 weeks. But it's not cocaine. I'm not hurting anyone, and I drink it black with 1 teaspoon of sugar, so I'm not too concerned about calories. I'm letting it happen. I have AD and can't currently afford my medication. You can take caffeine out of my cold, dead, easily distracted fingers. We don't have to take it. We'll just let you put it down for a sec and forget where you left it. Yay, sugar is a frustrating one. I've cut it out mostly by doing keto, and I've lost so much weight and feel better. My partner, though, she eats through the daily recommended sugar intake sweats, chocolate cereal bars, crisp and fruit, before midday, every day, then has loads later on. I'm not quite sure on how to approach the topic either, as I'm worried about what the future looks like. I grew up with my mother being really overweight and unhealthy, and it sucked as a child, and see my dad frustrated now that they can't do anything due to it. I want to approach the topic with her, but don't know how without upsetting her. Sugar is a crazy addiction, and I don't think people realize how bad it is. Because it's food, then it's fine. Reddit. Opposite addictions, not vitally necessary function. On the flip side, it can be avoided by doing the opposite and eating low-calorie dense foods. But yay, I had some waffles and syrup, and that shit was 1.4 calories. Wasn't even a large amount. Coffee, phone. Anyone who has ever experienced the headaches, fatigue and nausea of the first week caffeine, free will agree. Social media. Politics. The amount of people that watch nothing but Fox, Con or MSNBC all day is ridiculous. If this is you, seriously, that isn't news you're watching. Weed. It's me. I love it. But it's still an addiction. I'm glad you can admit this. Many Redditors and weed enjoyers are unable to accept the fact that a full-blown marijuana addiction is not healthy or beneficial. My husband rolls his eyes a little when I say I'm in recovery, almost 6 months clean. But it's my unfortunate reality. I tell him I'm glad he can just do it occasionally and not have a problem, but I definitely had a problem and can't think of a good enough reason to start again. I love weed. I loved being a functional pothead, but I hit a point where I wanted to be more than just functional. Fast food. Cracks me up when people be smoking every day and say they're not addicted because weed isn't addictive. Trading stocks, penny stocks, short long with a typical gambling mentality. This trade will make up for the other losses so far, or my system works. I lost a lot of money with neo-broker. Alcoholism. Porn. It's so normalized now. I had a breakthrough at some point and realized I'd consumed pornography in some form for every day of my life from an early age, and it is surprisingly more difficult to stop relying on it than you'd think. It's not just a problem for men either. I just posted this somewhere else. There's more and more research on how porn addiction actually resembles drug addiction in the brain, specifically cocaine addiction. TEPS, Katia 398, medium compound addiction, worse than cocaine, FAT 644,594 weirdly in my sow's journey to get clean. His relapses looked like symptoms after taking Molly. It's like all happiness and energy was getting sucked out of him for at least 2 days. I am not an addict, but I quit watching it out of solidarity and noticed some weird stuff myself. Despite only watching 3 per week max, I still have trouble not watching it. Also, our sex life improved significantly. Just getting this out there to increase awareness on how serious porn addiction can become. This. All men watch porn. Masturbation is healthy. Yea, but not all day, every day. And men have lived for millennia without porn. And now they watch other ladies' vaginas all the time and are confused as to why their own wives are not able to capture their desire anymore. After they just saw 50 different surgically enhanced or selected for their beauty ladies last night and had a magnificent orgasm to that harem. Gee, what a mystery why you lose attraction to real-world women. And we all know a lot of porn is made under questionable circumstances. If you watch a lot of porn, you've seen women and men that were coerced into sex or plain getting rep dumped on screen, or you have seen girls that are underage but desperate for money and attention that can pass for older. And you enjoyed it. And we all yell at each other. It's normal to watch porn, all men do it. That might be so. It doesn't do society much good. Well, not in the amounts we do it nowadays anyway. Considering more than 10% of the internet is porn, I think we're heading towards an epidemic. I agree. Porn is trash and plays a role in desensitization. It numbs the creativity of your brain and are just hypnotized to a screen until you're done. I found a note my wife wrote on her phone one day, and it was in the form of a diary entry, if you will, but just a quick idea put down, and it said my husband would rather stay up late and watch porn than be intimate with me or hold my hand. That broke me because I thought I did it in secret, but she was the one that secretly knew but didn't want to embarrass me. It's not that she cared about the porn per se, it's that my issue has rusted my love for her, and I couldn't understand it. Sometimes I still don't understand it. It has never made me a better person or feel good. It just helped me sleep better at night. There are far more alcoholics out there than people want to admit. Realize. Needing a couple of drinks per night means you've got a problem, Brenda. I feel like we, as a culture, are a bit obsessed with addictions. Unless it's disrupting your relationships or career, you're allowed to enjoy things that aren't productive. If anything, we're addicted to shame and guilt. That is not to imply that we aren't completely unself-aware of other moral failures.